It was 4:07 a.m. when Tyler Whitman stumbled through the glass doors of their Manhattan apartment. The city outside still glimmered with cold neon light. But inside, silence cut sharper than a blade. His shirt was wrinkled, his tie half loosened, and a faint trace of Chanel perfume still clung to his neck, a scent that didn't belong to his wife. Claire Whitman stood by the marble kitchen counter, pale and calm. Her belly, 6 months pregnant, rose gently beneath her gray cashmere sweater. On the counter sat a thin folder, a Mont Blanc pen, and 2 neatly stacked envelopes. Tyler frowned, confused. "Why are you up?" he muttered, reaching for a glass of water. Her voice didn't shake. "You should drink. It might help with the lies stuck in your throat." Tyler froze. He noticed the folder, the words "Petition for Divorce" printed on top. "You're serious?" Claire's fingers traced the pen slowly. "I was serious the moment you checked into the plaza under a fake name. Your receipt's in that folder. So are your text messages, your photos, and your pride." He blinked hard, then laughed, the arrogant, mocking kind she used to mistake for confidence. "Come on, Claire. You're hormonal. You're overreacting." Her eyes met his, steady and hollow. "You spent the night with her, didn't you?" He said nothing, and that silence said everything. Claire stepped back, slipping her wedding ring off her finger. It hit the marble with a small metallic clink, louder than thunder. "I won't raise my child in a home built on humiliation." Tyler scoffed, voice sharp with contempt. "You're not going anywhere with my baby." Just then, the elevator bell chimed. The door slid open, revealing Oliver Graham Sterling's assistant, holding a small Amazon box packed with Claire's essentials. Behind him stood the building's night security guard, polite but firm. "Mrs. Whitman," the guard said softly. "Your car's waiting." Tyler's smirk faltered. "You planned this?" Claire took a slow breath, hand on her belly. "I planned to survive." She turned to leave, her heels echoing against the marble floor. "Claire, don't walk away," he growled, his tone shifting from disbelief to desperation. She stopped by the doorway without looking back. "You already did. Bye." When the elevator doors closed behind her, the sound was final, a quiet, luxurious ending to a love built on lies. Outside, Manhattan's skyline shimmered like 1,000 witnesses. Claire pressed her hand against her stomach as the baby kicked gently, almost as if reminding her she wasn't alone. She looked up at the dark sky and whispered, "We'll be fine, little one. We'll start again." But deep down, she knew this was only the beginning, and Tyler wouldn't let her go that easily. The ride through Manhattan at dawn felt unreal. The city glowed gold against the glass towers, but Claire barely saw it. She sat in the back seat of the Mercedes, one hand resting on her belly, the other clutching the divorce folder like a life vest. The driver, hired by Graham Sterling's office, said nothing. Silence was safer. When the car stopped in front of the Ritz-Carlton residences on the Upper East Side, the world outside looked like another planet. Polished marble floors, uniformed doormen, and air that smelled like money and lemon polish. Claire hesitated before stepping out. She didn't belong here, not with swollen ankles and a heartbeat full of chaos. Oliver was waiting at the entrance. "Mr. Sterling said you can stay as long as you need. It's private, secure. No one will find you here." "Sing." She nodded, too tired to argue. The elevator ride was quiet except for the hum of the city waking below. When the doors opened, she saw a space straight out of Architectural Digest, soft gray walls, a minimalist sofa, and floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the East River. A basket sat on the counter. Fruit, bottled water, prenatal vitamins, and a handwritten note. "You're safe here. Rest, G.S." Claire exhaled for the first time in hours. She placed the divorce papers on the table beside a white iPhone charger and stared out the window. From this height, Manhattan looked peaceful, distant, unthreatening, but her hands wouldn't stop trembling. Maya Brooks arrived that afternoon, clutching 2 Starbucks cups and a laptop. She was in her early 30s, sharp and calm, a friend from Claire's freelance days. "Tyler's PR team already pushed a story," she said, flipping her MacBook open. "They're painting you as emotionally unstable, postpartum anxiety, hormonal, maybe even dangerous. Typical playbook." Claire's throat tightened. "He's faster than I thought." Maya nodded. We'll be faster. I've already filed for an emergency protection order. You're not obligated to speak to him directly. For a moment, Claire just stared at the steaming coffee cup in her hands. The label read C, decaf latte. Small kindnesses felt huge now. When Maya left, the apartment was too quiet again. Claire wandered into the guest room, sat on the edge of the bed, and looked at her reflection in the glass. Puffy eyes, cracked lips, dark circles. She didn't recognize this woman, but she knew she had to protect her. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You think you can embarrass me and get away with it? I'll ruin you before that baby even comes. Tyler. Her pulse spiked. She locked the phone and turned it face down, forcing herself to breathe. Panic would only give him power. Later, as night fell, Aunt Ruth called. Her voice was strained. Claire, honey, maybe you should try to work it out. Tyler's been calling. He's scared. He says you're not well. Claire's heart sank. He paid you, didn't he? Silence on the other end confirmed it. She ended the call before tears could form. She opened her Kindle instead, scrolling through her saved books, until she found Women Who Run with the Wolves. A passage caught her eye. A woman's greatest strength is not endurance, but resurrection. She whispered it like a prayer. The city lights shimmered below, a million tiny promises that tomorrow could still be hers. But deep inside, she knew Tyler wasn't done. He was too proud, too afraid to lose control. As the clock struck midnight, Claire looked out at the dark river and said softly, "Let him try." Because this time, she had nothing left to lose, and that made her unstoppable. By Monday morning, Tyler Whitman was already smiling on LinkedIn. A perfectly lit photo showed him shaking hands with investors at a Wall Street conference, captioned, "Excited for fatherhood and new beginnings ahead." Hundreds of comments poured in heart emojis, congratulations, praises for the ideal husband, and soon-to-be dad. Claire read it from the Ritz-Carlton apartment, her hands cold around a cup of herbal tea. The nausea came back, but not from pregnancy. She could almost hear his voice. Control the story before she does. Her phone pinged again. A news alert. Marketing exec Tyler Whitman faces false accusations amid wife's mental health struggles. Her jaw clenched. Tyler had flipped the narrative overnight. She scrolled through the comments. Strangers dissected her life, some sympathetic, most cruel. Poor guy, his wife must be unstable. She's just jealous. Classic hormonal drama. Maya arrived, laptop in hand. He's paying a crisis, PR firm, Crosspoint Strategies. They're good at smearing reputations quietly. Claire felt her stomach twist. He's going to destroy me. Maya leaned closer. Only if you react emotionally. Right now, we collect evidence, not headlines. She handed over a file. Inside were screenshots of Tyler's texts, receipts from the plaza, and a list of witnesses who had seen him with Sienna Cole. But then Maya hesitated. There's one more thing. He's filing a motion claiming you're unfit to parent, alleging emotional instability. Claire blinked, stunned. He's using my pregnancy against me? Yes. He'll say the stress affects your judgment. We'll need statements from your doctor, therapist, anyone credible. The weight of betrayal pressed down on her chest. This wasn't just a broken marriage. It was war. That afternoon, the doorbell rang. Claire expected Oliver or room service, but when she opened it, a delivery man held a bouquet of white lilies and a silver envelope. No card, just a small printed note. You can't hide behind rich friends forever. Her knees weakened. She slammed the door and called Oliver immediately. Within minutes, he was there with a new security code for the apartment and 2 guards stationed in the lobby. Tyler's testing boundaries, Oliver said. He wants you scared. Claire nodded, gripping her belly. Then he'll be disappointed. That night, she sat by the window, Manhattan glittering beneath her like a cruel, beautiful stage. On her MacBook, she watched the video from Tyler's conference again. His charisma hadn't changed. He still looked like the man she once loved. The same smooth voice, the same smile that could sell lies as easily as dreams. But then she noticed something on the table behind him. His Mont Blanc pen gleamed under the lights. Her old gift. He'd kept it. The same pen he'd signed the hotel receipt with. It made her skin crawl. She opened a blank document and began writing a timeline. Every lie, every receipt, every call. She'd build her defense piece by piece. Just before midnight, her phone buzzed again, an unknown number, a distorted voice recording, "You're making this worse for yourself, Claire. I'll make sure no one believes a single word you say." Her fingers trembled over the keyboard. Fear tried to crawl in, but she pushed it down. She wasn't the same woman who cried in the kitchen 3 nights ago. Claire opened her email to Maya and typed, "He just escalated. I want every message, every payment, every fake article traced back. If we're going to fight, we'll fight smart." Outside, the city lights reflected in her glass like fire. For the first time, she didn't see a prison. She saw a battlefield. And somewhere deep inside, a fire started burning, the kind that doesn't go out until the truth wins. By Thursday morning, Manhattan was washed in cold rain. The sky was bruised gray, thunder grumbling over the East River. Claire sat across from Maya at a small marble table in the Ritz-Carlton lounge, a stack of folders between them. She hadn't slept more than 3 hours in days, but her eyes were sharp now. Fear was giving way to focus. Maya sipped her black coffee. "We've confirmed Tyler's expense report from his company. He marked the plaza stay as a client meeting. Fraud. Plain and simple. If we get IRS attention, his career implodes." Claire's pulse quickened. "That's the first real weapon we have." "Pider." Maya nodded. "But we need timing. We'll file the motion quietly, let him think he's winning. Then, boom, it hits the court the same day the IRS receives a tip." Claire exhaled slowly, rubbing her belly. "He's still trying to talk to me. Calls from unknown numbers. I don't pick up, but he keeps leaving messages. He sounds so calm, like none of this is happening." "That's part of his charm," Maya said flatly. "He manipulates with civility. Don't answer. Not even once." "Hydas?" Just then, Oliver arrived, rain dripping from his coat. "Mr. Sterling asked me to deliver this." He placed a sleek silver folder on the table. Inside were documents detailing security measures for Claire's safety guards, private access, and an encrypted phone. Claire smiled faintly. "He's very thorough." Oliver hesitated. "He knows what people like Tyler can do when they lose control." After Oliver left, Claire looked out at the rain tracing lines across the window. The city was a blur of umbrellas and headlights. Somewhere out there, Tyler was probably laughing over lunch, pretending his life was perfect. The thought made her jaw tighten. Later that afternoon, she met with Dr. Harper, her obstetrician. The doctor, a warm woman in her 50s, listened carefully as Claire explained the stress she'd been under. "Your vitals are stable, but stress affects both of you," she said gently. "Try to rest. Your baby feels everything." "1. I'm trying," Claire whispered, "but he won't stop." Dr. Harper placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then you need to stop letting him live rent-free in your head. Let your lawyer handle him." That evening, Claire returned to the apartment and found a small brown box waiting by the door. No return address. Inside was a single photo her wedding day, smiling under the lights of Central Park, and a note, "You looked better when you were mine." Her knees went weak. For a long minute, she couldn't move. Then she gathered the pieces, placed them in a Ziploc bag, and wrote a label, "Evidence." At 9 p.m., she called Maya. "I want to file that motion. Tomorrow. I'm done hiding." Maya's tone shifted. "You're sure? Once we do this, there's no going back." Claire's eyes flicked to the photo again. "There's nothing to go back to." That night, she drafted a short statement for the court, calm, factual, unshakable. When she finished, she opened her Kindle to the 48 Laws of Power and underlined a sentence, "Never outshine the master until you are ready to destroy him." Outside, the storm had eased, the clouds cracking open to reveal a line of silver moonlight stretching over Manhattan. Claire stood by the window, one hand on her belly, the other holding the pen that had once signed her wedding vows. Tomorrow, she would use it to sign the beginning of his downfall. Friday morning sunlight broke through the clouds, painting Manhattan gold again. For the first time in a week, Claire woke without tears. She brewed decaf coffee in the quiet Ritz-Carlton apartment and glanced at the city below. People rushing, taxis honking. Life continuing as if her world hadn't shattered. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Can we talk? Woman to woman." The name appeared seconds later. Sienna Cole. Claire froze. She hadn't seen that name since the plaza receipts. Her stomach turned, a blend of anger and curiosity. Against her better judgment, She typed back one word. Where? Sienna suggested a Starbucks on Lexington Avenue. Neutral ground. Public. Safe. Claire agreed, though Maya warned her, don't let her bait you. Record everything. At noon, she arrived wearing a simple beige coat, hair tied back, no makeup. Sienna was already there, sitting by the window, glamorous in a red Dior dress, pretending not to be nervous. Claire sat across from her. Sienna smiled faintly. You look tired. I've earned it, Claire replied. Sienna stirred her latte. I didn't mean for things to go this far. Tyler said you were separated. He said you needed space. Claire's lips curved into a bitter smile. And you believed him. He's not who you think. Sienna whispered, leaning forward. He's dangerous. IIB. But before she could finish, Claire's phone lit up, a voice memo notification. Her blood ran cold. Someone was recording. She looked around and spotted a man sitting near the counter, holding a phone angled subtly in their direction. She stood abruptly. You're setting me up. Sienna's expression flickered. Guilt. Fear. Then denial. No. Tyler just wanted me to talk to you. To calm things down. Claire grabbed her coat. Tell him next time he'll need a subpoena. Bun. She stormed out, heart pounding. The realization hit her halfway down the block. This wasn't an olive branch. It was a trap, a fake reconciliation, to paint her as irrational or threatening. Within hours, the plan unfolded online. A clipped, edited audio surfaced. A woman's voice, desperate and harsh, saying, You'll regret this. Sienna. It wasn't her. Not entirely. But enough pieces had been spliced together to make it sound real. Tyler's PR team fed it to the tabloids. Pregnant wife threatens husband's mistress. The comments were brutal. Sponsors from Claire's freelance work began backing away. When Maya arrived that evening, Claire sat motionless on the couch, staring at the screen. They won't stop, she said quietly. Maya leaned forward. They will, when we hit them where it hurts. How? Money. Fraud. Reputation. We'll expose him from the inside out. Oliver entered then, holding a sealed envelope. From Mr. Sterling, he said, setting it gently beside her. Inside was a note written in Graham's clean handwriting. Storms end. Truth doesn't. Attached was a key card. Access to a private workspace in his Park Avenue office, so she could safely prepare her case away from prying eyes. That night, Claire stood before the mirror. Her reflection looked stronger now. Sharper. Colder. She whispered to herself, They think I'm broken. Then, after a pause, Good. Broken things cut deepest. Fiber 5. Outside, the city pulsed with light and noise, but inside her heart, something shifted. The fear that once paralyzed her was turning into strategy. She wasn't the trembling wife anymore. She was becoming the storm. By Monday morning, the gray mist over Manhattan felt heavy enough to crush the skyline. Claire arrived at Graham Sterling's Park Avenue office. The same building where Tyler often bragged about closing million-dollar campaigns. The irony wasn't lost on her. Inside, the lobby gleamed with black marble and gold accents. The receptionist gave her a polite nod before leading her to the executive conference floor. Graham's assistant, Oliver, was already there, stacking folders like chess pieces. He'll try to corner you emotionally, Oliver warned. Stay calm, let Maya do the talking. Claire took a breath, smoothing her beige trench coat over her pregnant belly. I'm not afraid of him anymore. Minutes later, the glass door slid open. Tyler entered clean-cut, confident, wearing the same navy suit he'd worn the day he proposed. Behind him trailed his attorney, a smug woman named Cynthia Ford, and Sienna, dressed conservatively now, eyes downcast. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. The faint scent of his cologne hit her, the one she used to love. It made her skin crawl. Maya stood, expression unreadable. We're here to discuss settlement terms, she said evenly. Cynthia smiled like a viper. My client is willing to offer a generous sum in exchange for confidentiality and joint custody. Claire blinked. Confidentiality? You mean silence. Tyler spread his hands. Claire, this doesn't have to get messy. We can keep our dignity. Her voice was ice. You lost yours at the plaza. The room went still. Tyler's jaw tightened. but he kept his tone civil. "You're emotional. You need help, not headlines." "Way." Graham entered then, tall, composed, the kind of man whose presence rearranged the air. He nodded to everyone but only looked at Claire. "Apologies for being late." Tyler smirked. "Ah, the billionaire savior. Tell me, Claire, how long until the sympathy turns into a paycheck?" Graham's eyes narrowed. "Careful, Mr. Whitman. Some of us still believe integrity is currency." Maya slid a document across the table. "Here's our offer: full custody, half the assets, no media clause. Or we proceed with evidence of fraud and personal misconduct." Cynthia frowned. "What evidence?" Oliver tapped a tablet. The screen lit up with scanned receipts. The Plaza Suite, spa charges, champagne, all billed to Tyler's company account. Then another file, voice-to-text, transcripts of him mocking Claire's mental state in messages to colleagues. Tyler's composure cracked. "This is illegal surveillance." "No," Maya said, calm as stone. "These came from your corporate emails, public domain once subpoenaed." Sienna's face paled. She whispered something to Cynthia, who whispered back urgently. Graham folded his arms. "You wanted this private. We're offering that courtesy once. Decline. And tomorrow morning it becomes public record." The tension hummed like live electricity. Finally, Tyler stood, straightening his cuffs. "You'll regret this," he hissed. Claire rose too, her gaze unflinching. "I already did. For 10 years. Shunned." He stormed out, Sienna trailing behind, her heels clicking like retreating gunfire. When the doors shut, Maya exhaled slowly. "That went better than I expected." Claire turned to the window. Below them, Park Avenue glittered under the noon sun, cars like veins pulsing through the city. "He won't stop here," she murmured. Graham's reflection appeared beside hers in the glass. "Then neither will we." 1. For the first time, she let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't fighting alone anymore. And somewhere deep down, Tyler's empire had just started to crack one signature at a time. The following weekend brought blue skies and bitter headlines. Manhattan glimmered as if mocking her. Claire was leaving her doctor's office when her phone began to vibrate endlessly. Messages, tags, mentions. She stopped on the sidewalk, heart pounding, and opened the first notification. There it was. Tyler and Sienna, photographed at the River Cafe, arms linked, smiling for the cameras under the Brooklyn Bridge lights. The caption on page 6 screamed, "Marketing power couple Tyler Whitman and PR executive Sienna Cole seen at charity gala. Love triumphs over scandal." Claire froze. The photo spread like wildfire. Tyler's hand rested protectively on Sienna's waist, the same way he used to touch her. For a dizzy second, she couldn't breathe. Across the street, a digital billboard replayed the same image in rotation with an ad for Dior. Her reflection flickered over their smiling faces. A ghost in her own story. Her phone rang. "Maya, Claire, don't look at the news. It's a stunt. They're trying to provoke you." "I already saw it." Her voice cracked. "He looks happy." "Fake happy," Maya corrected. "I've seen that expression 1,000 times. It's PR armor. But listen, we have bigger issues. His lawyers just filed an emergency petition to challenge your custody motion. They're calling you unstable and emotionally volatile." Claire felt her stomach twist, a sharp pain rippling through her abdomen. "He's using this against me. That photo. That story. He's painting me as the jealous ex." "Then we'll change the narrative," Maya said firmly. "Go home, rest, let me handle this." But rest was impossible. Back in the apartment, Claire sat in front of the window, the Manhattan skyline bleeding into dusk. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Journalists requesting statements, strangers commenting cruel things online. No wonder he left. She's clearly unhinged. Her hands shook as she scrolled through them. She wanted to scream, but the sound caught in her throat. Instead, she turned the phone face down and whispered, "Don't let him win. Don't give him what he wants." A knock broke the silence. Oliver stepped inside, holding a manila envelope. "Maya asked me to bring these updates on the case. Also, Mr. Sterling wanted you to have this." Inside was a simple handwritten note. "Do not measure yourself by his lies. Measure him by how far he must crawl to reach your strength. G.S." Claire read it twice. Something inside her steadied. She set the note beside her MacBook and opened a new folder titled Truth. She began uploading everything: text, screenshots, receipts, bank transfers, copies of Tyler's corporate fraud. The folder would be her shield, her revenge, her salvation. Hours passed. Rain began to fall against the windows again. At 10:37 p.m., she received one last message, an email from Tyler's account. "You'll never win, Claire. I own the story." Her reply was short. "Then I'll write a better one." She hit send and closed her laptop. The next morning, Maya called, voice trembling with excitement. "We just received confirmation. One of Tyler's company accountants reached out anonymously. He's willing to testify about the fake expense reports. He's terrified, but he wants to come clean." Claire gripped the phone. "So the cracks are spreading." "Yes," Maya said. "And this time, the world might finally start believing you." Claire walked to the window, watching the sun rise over the city that had mocked her the day before. A new kind of fire burned in her chest, not rage, but clarity. Because no matter how loud his lies were, the truth was finally finding a microphone. The following Tuesday, Claire sat in the Park Avenue workspace. Graham had arranged an elegant, glass-walled office that smelled faintly of espresso and cedar. The city shimmered beneath her, but her world revolved around the glowing MacBook screen in front of her. Folders, receipts, and transcripts sprawled like weapons on a digital battlefield. Maya joined via video call. "We've started the audit." Tyler's company filed his luxury expenses as client entertainment. "The IRS doesn't like that." Claire gave a grim smile. "Good. Let them peel back his perfect image." Oliver entered carrying 2 lattes from Starbucks. "Graham's in a meeting, but he asked me to remind you, stay off social media today." Tyler's team launched another round of smears. "Son, already?" Claire muttered. She opened her email. Dozens of alerts filled the inbox. Headlines, gossip threads, podcasts speculating about her mental decline. It felt endless, but something inside her had hardened. She clicked each tab with surgical precision, documenting every false claim for Maya's legal archive. Then came an anonymous email with no subject line, just a link. She hesitated. "Maya, should I open it?" "Forward it to me first." But curiosity beat caution. She clicked. A grainy video began to play. Tyler in a hotel hallway, arguing with a woman not her. The woman was Sienna, crying, shouting something about lies and promises. The timestamp matched the night Claire had found the receipts from the plaza. Her hands shook. "He recorded her too," she whispered. "He's been collecting leverage on everyone." Maya exhaled sharply. "Send it to me now. If we can verify authenticity, that video will destroy his credibility." "Sunna." Claire did, but before she could close the window, another message popped up. This one from Tyler's account. "You're predictable, Claire, always reacting. That's why you'll lose." Her stomach tightened. "He knows I opened the link." "Stay calm," Maya said. "He's watching for emotional mistakes. Let's hit him with evidence, not anger." That night, Oliver arranged an emergency tech team, digital forensics experts from Graham's security division. They combed through her laptop, isolating the intrusion. One of them, a woman with short silver hair, looked up and said, "He planted a tracker in your iCloud months ago, probably when he still had your passwords." Claire's throat went dry. "So every photo, every document, he saw everything. But now, we see him." The woman smiled coldly. "We'll trace it back." By dawn, they had an IP log linking Tyler's devices to multiple fake accounts spreading lies about Claire. Each post, each headline, each rumor, they could all be traced back to him. Maya called again at sunrise, her voice fierce with quiet triumph. "We got him. Digital harassment, identity theft, defamation. It's all there. The judge will eat this up." Claire sank back in her chair, exhausted but alive. For the first time, she felt momentum on her side. She looked out the window at Manhattan, waking up, the streets glowing gold, the skyline alive with possibility. "He used technology to humiliate me," she said softly. "Now I'll use it to end him." Oliver handed her a file. "Graham asked me to deliver this. It's a confidentiality draft. To protect your story from being twisted again. He said you shouldn't have to defend the truth twice. She smiled faintly, tears pricking her eyes. Tell him, thank you. The city roared beneath her, alive with noise and ambition. But Claire heard only one sound, the click of the keyboard as she built her case. Because in the digital age, reputations can die overnight, but so can lies. And hers were about to take their final breath. It was nearly midnight when Manhattan finally went still. The city lights flickered like stars trapped in glass towers. But inside the quiet apartment, Claire sat alone on the edge of her bed. The hum of the air conditioner was the only sound. Her laptop screen glowed faintly beside her, open to the last message she had written to Maya. We have enough. Tomorrow, we file. Her body ached from exhaustion. Her hands were swollen, her ankles hurt, and every small movement reminded her that she wasn't alone. The baby kicked softly, a flutter beneath her ribs, and she pressed her palm there. You hear that? She whispered, smiling weakly. That's your cue to stay strong, little one. For a long moment, she just breathed. After weeks of chaos, lawyers, reporters, betrayal, silence felt foreign. But in that silence, fear began to creep back in. What if Tyler managed to twist things again? What if the court believed him? She reached for her Kindle and opened Atomic Habits, a book she'd started weeks ago. Her eyes caught on a line. Change doesn't come from motivation. It comes from systems that make survival easier. She closed it slowly. Maybe survival was her new system now. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number again. She ignored it. Then it buzzed a second time. And a third. Finally, she opened the messages. You think you're safe behind lawyers and bodyguards. You're still my wife, Claire. That baby is mine. I can make one call and take everything back. Her vision blurred. For a second, she almost replied. Then she deleted the thread and blocked the number. Her heart hammered, but her voice stayed calm when she whispered, Not this time. Across the room, lightning flashed against the skyline. The thunder rolled slowly, like the warning drum of something coming. Claire stood by the window, watching the rain smear the city lights into ribbons of gold and gray. She began to talk softly to the baby again, her voice steady now. Your father thinks strength means control, but he's wrong. Strength is walking away when no one believes you. Strength is starting over when everything's been burned. Her reflection looked back at her tired, pale, but still standing. For the first time, she didn't see a victim. She saw a survivor. Suddenly, her phone rang again. This time, Maya's voice urgent. Claire, listen carefully. We've been granted an early court hearing. The judge wants to see the evidence package first thing tomorrow. Claire's eyes widened. Tomorrow? That soon? Yes, it's good news. But it also means Tyler will know we're coming. You need to be careful. I'm always careful now, Claire said quietly. After the call ended, she packed the documents into a leather portfolio, receipts, transcripts, screenshots. Every scar turned into a weapon. She placed it beside her bed like a shield. Outside, thunder cracked again. She looked toward the ceiling and murmured, Whatever happens tomorrow, we'll face it together. The baby kicked again, harder this time, as if answering her. She smiled through tears. Then, a faint sound came from the hallway. A creak, like someone had stepped too close to the door. She froze, heart pounding. The sound came again. Claire grabbed her phone, ready to call Oliver. But after a tense pause, only silence followed. Still, she left a lamp on that night. Because in New York, storms never end quietly. And sometimes, the loudest ones start right after midnight. Morning came heavy and metallic. Rain dripped from the edges of skyscrapers as black cars lined up in front of the Manhattan family court. Claire stepped out of the Mercedes, one hand gripping the door, the other resting protectively on her belly. Her reflection in the tinted window startled her. Sleek black dress, hair pinned tight, eyes that didn't belong to the same woman Tyler used to manipulate. She looked unbreakable. Maya was already waiting under the courthouse awning, crisp suit, umbrella in hand. You're early, she said softly. I didn't sleep. That's good, Maya said, half smiling. Sleep makes you soft. Today, we need steel. Inside, the air was cool and sterile, buzzing with reporters. Flashbulbs exploded like lightning when Claire entered. Oliver kept them back with quiet authority, leading her into a small holding room. Graham wasn't there, but a note waited for her on the table. Courage doesn't mean absence of fear. It means walking through it anyway. G.S. Claire touched the note briefly, grounding herself. Then the door opened, and the bailiff announced, Whitman versus Whitman. Preliminary hearing. The courtroom smelled of paper and tension. Tyler sat at the opposite table in a tailored navy suit, immaculate as ever. Sienna was in the back row, sunglasses on indoors, pretending to be invisible. When Claire walked past, Tyler's jaw tightened, not out of guilt, but rage at losing control. Judge Reynolds, a stern woman in her 60s, called the room to order. We're here to address claims of defamation, financial fraud, and temporary custody rights. Maya began, her voice crisp and deliberate. Your Honor, my client has faced months of malicious slander while enduring a high-risk pregnancy. We have proof of falsified corporate expenses and online harassment originating from Mr. Whitman's accounts. Tyler's lawyer, Cynthia, countered instantly. Your Honor, these are emotional accusations from a woman under extreme psychological stress. Objection, Maya snapped. We have digital forensic evidence. The judge raised a brow. Proceed. Claire's heart pounded as the big screen flickered on. Oliver loaded a presentation. Screenshots, timestamps, financial transfers. The final slide. An IRS letter confirming an investigation into Tyler's misuse of company funds. Gasps rippled through the gallery. Tyler's face drained of color, but he forced a smirk. My wife has always been dramatic, he said to the judge. She's pregnant and paranoid. I've tried to help her. Help, Maya interrupted. By hacking her iCloud. By sending anonymous threats. By lying to the public about her mental health. Judge Reynolds leaned forward. Mr. Whitman, did you or did you not approve the Plaza Hotel expense under client meeting? Tyler hesitated. For the first time, his voice faltered. It was misfiled. 1. Misfiled, the judge repeated dryly. At 2 a.m, with champagne service? A low murmur spread. Sienna shifted in her seat, eyes darting down. Then Maya delivered the final blow. Your Honor, we also have a sworn statement from one of Mr. Whitman's employees, confirming he ordered false reports to cover up personal expenses. We're submitting it today. The judge nodded slowly. Motion for fraud accepted. We'll schedule a formal hearing. Temporary custody remains with Mrs. Whitman. For a heartbeat, the world went silent. Claire felt the weight lift slightly from her chest. She turned to Maya, who whispered, Round 1, ours. As they walked out, reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. One caught the exact moment Tyler slammed his briefcase against the wall, the sound echoing through the marble hallway. Outside, the air smelled of rain and victory. Fragile, fleeting, but real. Claire looked up at the gray sky and whispered, For you, little one, this is just the beginning. Because when truth takes the stand, even the most polished lies begin to tremble. 3 days after the hearing, a package arrived at the Ritz-Carlton apartment. No sender, no label, just Claire's name scrawled in black ink across the brown cardboard. For a moment, she stared at it on the doorstep, dread curling in her stomach. Maya had warned her not to open anything unfamiliar, but curiosity whispered louder than caution. She brought it inside, slicing the tape carefully with a kitchen knife. Inside was a collection of small, cruel ghosts. Tyler's cufflinks, her old wedding photo, and the Cartier bracelet he'd promised to pay off once the bonus cleared. The receipt, still tucked in the box, showed it was charged to Sienna's account. At the bottom, a note in Tyler's handwriting. You'll never outgrow me. You'll always be the woman I built. Claire's breath hitched. She could feel her heart hammering against her ribs. For a long time, she just stood there, staring at the proof of everything she'd lost and everything she'd survived. Then her anger steadied into something colder. She picked up the photo frame and whispered, You didn't build me. You broke me. I rebuilt myself. When Maya arrived that afternoon, Claire showed her the box. He's trying to rattle you, Maya said, taking photos for evidence. Every gesture, every message, it's control disguised as nostalgia. Claire nodded, her tone calm. Then let's turn his nostalgia into evidence. That night, she sat at her MacBook and began cataloging every item from the box, dates, receipts, emotional context, transforming them into another thread of her defense. She labeled the file Exhibit 17. Manipulation pattern. Oliver stopped by to check the new security system. "Mr. Sterling upgraded your access code," he said. "No one gets in without my approval now." He hesitated before adding, "Graham asked how you're holding up." Claire gave a tired smile. "Tell him I'm still standing." Oliver nodded, leaving her alone again with the city's hum outside. As midnight drew near, she poured herself a glass of water and looked out over the East River. The city lights blurred through her reflection. The same woman, but with sharper edges now. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Enjoy your souvenirs?" Her blood ran cold. "Tyler." She took a screenshot and sent it straight to Maya, adding, "He's watching the apartment. Be careful." Within an hour, Oliver's team swept the hallway and found a small wireless camera hidden near the doorframe, disguised as a smoke detector. Claire's knees nearly buckled when she saw it. "He's stalking me," she whispered. Oliver met her eyes, firm but steady. "Not anymore. We'll file for a restraining order first thing in the morning." When everyone left, Claire sat on the couch in silence. The city outside looked endless, uncaring. She rubbed her belly, whispering to the baby again, "He thinks fear will make me crumble, but all it's doing is teaching me how to fight." She took the Cartier bracelet from the table, weighed it in her hand, and dropped it into a trash bin. No more gold chains pretending to be love. My time. For the first time in months, she slept deeply, dreamless, quiet, whole. The next morning, she woke to Maya's text. "Restraining order filed. Judge granted emergency approval. He can't come near you." Claire smiled faintly, feeling a slow warmth spread through her chest. For once, the law wasn't just protecting her body. It was protecting her peace. And peace, for Claire Whitman, was the rarest luxury of all. The rain had cleared by Saturday evening, leaving the Manhattan sky streaked with soft pink and gold. Claire sat at a small round table in the Ritz-Carlton restaurant, the same place where she'd first met Graham Sterling months ago. The faint scent of rosemary and lemon drifted through the air, and for the first time in weeks, she wasn't holding a folder of evidence or a phone buzzing with threats. Across from her sat Aunt Ruth, eyes red, hands twisting a napkin nervously. "I shouldn't have taken the money," Ruth whispered. "Tyler said it was just to help him tell his side. I didn't know he'd twist it like that." Claire studied her aunt's face. The woman who'd raised her after her parents died, who taught her how to braid hair and write thank-you notes. Betrayal still stung, but exhaustion had dulled the edge. "You knew he was lying, Ruth. You just didn't want to see it." Tears welled in Ruth's eyes. "I was scared for you, honey." He sounded so sure of himself. "I thought maybe you'd lost control." Claire exhaled, her tone gentle but firm. "He made you doubt me. That's what he does. He takes good people and turns them into witnesses for his story." Ruth nodded, voice trembling. "He tried to call me again yesterday, offered more money." "What did you say?" "I told him to go to hell." For the first time in months, Claire smiled. "That's a start." Just then, Maya arrived, setting her briefcase beside the table. "Sorry to interrupt family time, but you'll want to see this." She pulled out a printed email chain. "Tyler's company just suspended him. The IRS confirmed the audit." Ruth gasped softly. "So he's losing?" Maya's lips curved into a rare smile. "He's unraveling." Claire leaned back, absorbing the words. It didn't feel like triumph, not yet, but it felt like gravity shifting in her favor. As they ate, conversation drifted to lighter things. Ruth asked about the baby's name. Claire smiled faintly. "Ethan. It means strong in Hebrew." Maya raised an eyebrow. "Fitting." Halfway through dinner, Oliver appeared, carrying a small box wrapped in navy ribbon. "From Mr. Sterling," he said quietly. Inside was a delicate silver pendant, a crescent moon engraved with a single line. "Even the broken light still shines." Claire's throat tightened. "Tell him thank you." When Ruth and Maya left, she stayed behind, watching the city lights blink against the glass. Couples laughed at nearby tables. Waiters carried champagne flutes past her. Life kept moving. For the first time, she felt ready to move with it. Then, as she gathered her purse, Her phone buzzed, a new email, subject line blank. She hesitated before opening it. The message contained a single image, her standing at the restaurant table minutes earlier, viewed through a long camera lens. Beneath it, a message. Nice necklace. He's watching you now too. Her blood went cold. She forwarded the email to Maya instantly. Within minutes, Oliver and hotel security swept through the lobby. Cameras revealed a figure outside, hooded, lurking near the valet entrance. The footage was grainy, but unmistakable. Tyler. He was violating the restraining order, taunting her again. Claire stood by the window as sirens wailed faintly in the distance, her reflection trembling under the neon lights. She whispered to herself, "You can follow me, Tyler, but you'll only see how far behind you've fallen." Then she turned off her phone, pressed her hand to her belly, and walked calmly toward the elevator. Because the old Claire would have run. But this Claire was ready for him to come. Just so she could finally end it. The next morning, Manhattan woke to headlines that hit like a tidal wave. Tyler Whitman suspended amid IRS probe. His picture was everywhere. The once polished executive now a symbol of scandal. Claire watched the morning news in silence, the baby kicking softly as if sensing the storm changing direction. Her phone rang. It was Maya. "You're not going to believe this," she said, voice sharp with adrenaline. "Sienna Cole just contacted me. She wants to talk, privately." Claire frowned. "Why would she help us now?" She didn't say. She just sounded scared. "Son." A meeting was arranged that afternoon at a quiet cafe in Soho. Claire arrived early, choosing a corner booth near the window. Rain had returned, soft but steady, tapping against the glass. When Sienna entered, she looked nothing like the glossy PR star who had flaunted herself beside Tyler. Her eyes were red, her hands trembling. "Thank you for coming," she said, sliding into the seat. Claire's tone was even. "You made a public spectacle of my marriage, Sienna. Why now?" Sienna looked down, voice cracking. "Because I'm pregnant." The world seemed to tilt. Claire's pulse raced. "You're lying." "I wish I was," Sienna whispered. "But it's not Tyler's." Silence fell heavy between them. Sienna pulled out a small USB drive and placed it on the table. "That's why I need your help. He's been threatening me, says he'll ruin my life if I talk. But I recorded everything. The calls, the messages, even the night he begged me to take the fall for the hotel expenses." Claire blinked, stunned. "Why give this to me?" "Because you're the only person who can use it without fear. You've already lost everything. I still have something to lose." Claire hesitated, studying her. Beneath the smeared mascara and trembling hands, there was sincerity, or maybe just desperation. Either way, truth was truth. "I'll give this to my lawyer," Claire said. "You'll need protection." Sienna nodded. "I know. That's why I'm leaving New York. I just wanted you to have it before I disappear." When she left, Claire stared at the small USB in her hand. It was warm, like it carried a heartbeat. She called Maya immediately. "We'll verify the files," Maya said. "If it's real, it's a confession." That evening, Claire sat with Graham in his Park Avenue office as the IT team loaded the data. The room was silent except for the clicking of keys. Then, a voice crackled through the speakers, Tyler's voice. "You owe me, Sienna. You'll say you booked the room, not me. You'll take the heat. You want that promotion, don't you?" The room filled with static. Then another clip, Claire's unstable. "I'll make her look like she's losing her mind. Once the press believes that, I can take the baby. No judge will stop me." Claire covered her mouth, tears brimming. Graham's jaw tightened. "That's not a confession," he said coldly. "That's an execution order. And we just caught him loading the gun." Maya's text came seconds later. "We'll present this tomorrow morning. He's finished." Claire looked at Graham. "It's finally over." He shook his head. "No, Claire. It's finally beginning." Outside, lightning flashed over the skyline. She felt the baby kick again, stronger this time, alive and fierce. Because for every lie Tyler built, the truth had just found its heartbeat. The next morning, the air over Manhattan carried the electric tension of something about to break. Reporters were already camped outside the courthouse when Claire arrived, a silk scarf tied over her hair, her steps measured, deliberate. She wasn't hiding anymore. She was walking into battle. Maya met her at the steps, phone pressed to her ear. Our motion is filed. The recordings are authenticated. Tyler doesn't know yet, but he will before the day's over. Tanjimon. Inside, the courthouse buzzed with whispers. Tyler sat at the defense table, flanked by his lawyer, Cynthia Ford, and a PR handler. His perfect suit couldn't hide the exhaustion in his eyes. The cameras flashed as the judge entered. Motion to reopen evidentiary hearing in Whitman versus Whitman, Maya announced. The judge raised a brow. On what grounds? Newly discovered evidence, Maya said, sliding the USB onto the clerk's desk. Audio recordings provided by a key witness. Teen. Tyler stiffened. Your Honor, this is absurd. It's fabricated. Maya smiled faintly. Then you won't mind us playing it. The courtroom fell silent. The first recording began. Tyler's voice, crisp and unmistakable. You'll take the blame, Sienna. I'll fix the rest. My wife's unstable. Once the press runs that, she's done. A collective gasp rippled through the gallery. Tyler's face went white. Cynthia whispered urgently in his ear. But the second clip played before she could stop it. I'll make her lose everything. Once I have the baby, she'll be nothing. The silence afterward was absolute. The judge leaned back slowly, eyes cold. Mr. Whitman, do you wish to explain this? Tyler's voice faltered. That recording is edited. Actually, no, Maya interrupted. It's verified by the FBI's Digital Forensics Division this morning. You can confirm the signature hash yourself. Cynthia tried to recover. Even so, Your Honor, my client was speaking under stress and stress doesn't produce premeditation. Maya cut in sharply. Claire sat perfectly still, her fingers gripping the edge of the table. Every word was a dagger drawn from months of humiliation. When she glanced toward the gallery, she saw Sienna sitting quietly in the back row, head lowered. Their eyes met. A fleeting truce between two women. Tyler had tried to break. Judge Reynolds turned to Tyler. Given this new evidence, I'm granting an immediate injunction. Mr. Whitman, you are to have no contact with Mrs. Whitman, direct or indirect, pending criminal review. Tyler slammed his palm against the table. You can't do this. I just did, the judge replied. As bailiffs stepped closer, Claire's pulse thundered. This was justice, raw, undeniable. She hadn't shouted, hadn't begged. She'd simply shown the truth. Outside, K's erupted. Reporters swarmed, cameras flashing, microphones thrust forward. Maya shielded Claire, ushering her toward the car. Graham was waiting there, calm amid the storm, holding an umbrella. You did it, he said softly. No, Claire replied, her voice trembling. The truth did. As they drove away, the city roared behind them. Sirens, headlines, the echo of Tyler's empire collapsing in real time. On her phone, messages flooded in, offers for interviews, statements of support, apologies from those who'd once doubted her. But she didn't read any of them. She looked out the window instead. Rain streaking the glass like tears she no longer needed to shed. Beside her, Graham said quietly, You've changed everything today. Claire smiled faintly, hand resting on her belly. No, I just reminded him, and everyone watching, that the truth doesn't need makeup. Woo! Because when a liar finally meets the truth, it's not an argument, it's a sentence. The following week, calm returned, or at least the illusion of it. Tyler had vanished from public view, his lawyers silent, his company under federal audit. For the first time in months, Claire could walk through Central Park without hiding her face. The trees were shedding gold leaves into the lake, and the air smelled like freedom. But freedom never lasts long when evil still breathes. That afternoon, Claire met Maya at Graham's office to finalize paperwork for the criminal charges. The mood was light, hopeful. Once the prosecutors file this, he's finished, Maya said. He can't touch you again. Claire smiled, hand on her belly. It finally feels over. But outside, someone was watching. A man in a black hoodie leaned against a car, camera phone aimed directly at her. When she noticed him, he turned away too quickly. Her instincts screamed. But she said nothing. Maybe it was paranoia. Maybe it wasn't. That evening, Oliver drove her back to the Ritz-Carlton apartment. We've doubled security, he assured. No one's getting near you. Thank you, she said, but unease still gnawed at her. Later, after dinner, she curled up on the couch, reading an article on her iPad about women rebuilding their lives after divorce. The baby kicked gently. She whispered, "We're almost there." Then, a sound. A faint click near the door. She froze. The lights flickered once, then went out completely. Heart pounding, she stood slowly, reaching for her phone. But the signal was gone. A shadow moved near the window. "Who's there?" she called, voice trembling. A man's voice answered low, unfamiliar. "We don't want to hurt you, ma'am. Just come quietly." Her breath hitched. They'd cut the power. They knew the guard's rotation schedule. Tyler's doing. She bolted toward the bedroom, locking the door behind her. The baby twisted inside her belly, sensing her fear. "It's okay," she whispered, trying to steady her breathing. "Mommy's got you." The doorknob rattled violently. "Claire, don't make this worse," one of them shouted. She scanned the room, no weapons, just her phone flashlight and a crystal lamp. She grabbed the lamp, clutching it like a lifeline. Her pulse thundered. Suddenly, the sound of boots echoed from the hallway, another voice yelling, "Security! Drop it!" 5. A struggle erupted. Shouts, grunts, the crash of glass, then silence. Moments later, Oliver burst into the room with 2 guards behind him. "You're safe," he said breathlessly. "We've got them." Claire sank to her knees, tears streaming. The lamp still clutched in her shaking hands. "They were going to take me. They were going to take my baby." Oliver knelt beside her. "They won't try again. The police have them, and one of them already confessed. Tyler paid them. The words didn't feel real. She stared at the dark window, the reflection of her terrified face. "He actually tried to kidnap us." Maya arrived minutes later, hugging her tightly. "He just ended his own defense," she whispered. "There's no coming back from this." By dawn, news broke. Former executive Tyler Whitman under criminal investigation for orchestrated assault on pregnant wife. His career was over. But Claire didn't feel victorious. She felt hollow, trembling, holding her stomach as the baby moved again, proof that life refused to surrender. When Graham came to see her that morning, he didn't speak. He simply sat beside her, offering quiet company as sunlight filtered through the curtains. Claire whispered, "He wanted to destroy me." And he almost did. Graham met her eyes. "Almost," he said. "But almost doesn't win. See." And as the first light touched her face, Claire realized something powerful. Survival wasn't her revenge. Living well was. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and rain. Claire lay in a dim room, the monitor beside her beeping in steady rhythm with her heartbeat. Her body trembled from exhaustion and adrenaline. Hours earlier, she'd gone into premature labor after the attack. The contractions had come fast, her world spinning in flashes of white light and pain. Now, silence. The nurse entered quietly. "The baby's stable," she said softly. "He's small, but strong. He's breathing on his own." Claire closed her eyes. Relief rolled through her like a wave. Tears slid down her temples. "Can I see him?" "Soon. They're running final checks." When the nurse left, Maya slipped into the room, her heels clicking softly on the tile. Her sharp edges had softened tonight. She looked less like an attorney and more like a friend. "You scared us," she whispered. "But you did it. He's safe." Claire managed a faint smile. "He came early. Maybe he wanted to see how the story ends." Maya squeezed her hand. "The story isn't ending. It's just changing authors." A moment later, Graham entered. His usual composure was gone. His tie undone. His eyes shadowed from sleepless hours. He stood at the foot of her bed, saying nothing at first. Then, quietly, "You're incredible." Claire laughed weakly. "I feel like I've been hit by a train." "May." "Still incredible," he said, sitting beside her. He pulled a small velvet box from his coat pocket, not jewelry but a silver charm shaped like a star. "For him," he said. "I thought he deserved something that shines without needing polish." Her throat tightened. "Thank you, Graham." They sat in silence until the nurse returned, pushing a small bassinet. Inside, wrapped in white, was a tiny baby boy with dark hair and a steady, fragile breath. "Here's your son," the nurse said. Claire reached out, hands trembling. The world blurred as she touched him for the first time. "Hi, Ethan," she whispered. "We made it." Graham looked away, blinking fast. Maya smiled through her own tears. "He's perfect," she said. "And he's yours. Completely yours." Hours passed in a soft haze of exhaustion and wonder. But beneath the hospital calm, outside those walls, chaos had erupted. Tyler had been arrested at dawn. Attempted kidnapping, fraud, defamation, the list was long. News outlets ran the footage of him being led away in handcuffs. Maya showed Claire the clip from her phone. "He's done," she said simply. Claire watched in silence. The man who once commanded rooms now looked small, his arrogance stripped away by flashing cameras. "I don't hate him," she said quietly. "Not anymore. Hate keeps you tethered." Graham nodded slowly. "Then maybe this is your victory. Not revenge, but peace." Bye. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the blinds, pale and clean. Claire held Ethan close, his tiny fingers curling around hers. She whispered, "You'll never know what fear smells like. Not while I'm breathing." Maya stood by the window, phone pressed to her ear. "The judge approved full custody," she said, turning toward Claire. "You're officially free." Claire smiled, tears spilling freely now. Graham approached her bedside. "You gave him life," he said softly. "And in the process, you gave yourself one too." She looked at Ethan's sleeping face, then back at Graham. "We survived," she whispered. He smiled. "No, you conquered." Outside, New York stretched awake under the new morning, the same city, but it looked different through her eyes now, because some victories don't roar. They breathe soft, small, and alive in your arms. 2 weeks later, the city buzzed with anticipation. The trial of Tyler Whitman v. The state of New York had become national news, a symbol of power, privilege, and the woman who refused to break. Reporters lined the courthouse steps, shouting questions about the baby, the mistress, and the millionaire benefactor. Claire stood at the entrance, dressed in a navy suit Maya had insisted on. She looked composed, though her pulse raced beneath her calm exterior. Graham stood a few feet away, offering a reassuring nod before she entered. Inside, the courtroom pulsed with tension. Tyler sat at the defense table, thinner, paler, arrogance worn down to raw nerves. His wrists bore faint red marks from the cuffs he'd been freed from only minutes before. When his eyes met Claire's, they held something unfamiliar, not rage, not pride, but quiet panic. Judge Reynolds called the session to order. "We're here to address the criminal charges against Mr. Whitman, including fraud, defamation, and conspiracy to commit kidnapping." "Bida," the prosecutor began, voice clear and sharp. "Your Honor, this is not a divorce case. This is about a man who weaponized wealth and influence to destroy his wife's credibility, endanger her life, and manipulate the legal system for personal gain." Maya sat beside Claire, whispering updates. "Everything we gave them, it's being used now. Every email, every recording." Claire nodded, though her throat tightened. Part of her still couldn't believe it was real. That all her pain, her fear, had finally transformed into evidence. The prosecutor played a section of the recording again. Tyler's voice, calm and cruel. "Once I have the baby, she'll be nothing." Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Even Cynthia Ford, his lawyer, looked shaken. "Mr. Whitman," the prosecutor said, "do you deny these words?" Tyler leaned into the microphone. "I was angry." "I didn't mean..." "Angry?" the prosecutor interrupted. "So you hired men to abduct a pregnant woman in her own home because you were angry?" Tyler's composure cracked. "It wasn't supposed to happen that way." Claire closed her eyes. The man she once loved was gone. Or maybe he'd always been this man, and she'd just refused to see it. When her turn came to testify, she stood at the witness stand, palms damp, voice steady. "He wanted control. Every time I said no, he found a new way to make me doubt myself. But when he threatened my child, I stopped being afraid." The courtroom was silent. Cameras clicked like heartbeats. She continued, "I'm not here for revenge. I'm here because no one should be able to destroy a life with lies and walk away untouched. I'm here because I want my son to grow up knowing truth has a spine, and sometimes it looks like his mother." The judge's expression softened. "Thank you, Mrs. Whitman." Jobling. Hours later, after closing arguments and deliberation, the verdict came swift and clear. Guilty on all charges. Tyler's face went blank as the sentence echoed through the courtroom. 8 years in federal prison with a mandatory rehabilitation program. The room erupted in murmurs. Maya gripped Claire's hand. It's over. But Claire didn't cheer. She just breathed deeply, finally, freely. Outside, reporters crowded around. Claire held her head high and said one sentence before leaving. This isn't just my story. It's every woman's who was told to stay quiet. When she reached the car, Graham was waiting with a quiet smile. How does it feel? Claire looked up at the sun breaking through gray clouds. Like the storm finally ran out of rain. Because justice, when it finally arrives, doesn't shout. It speaks in the sound of chains unlocking and hearts exhaling. 1 year later, Manhattan glittered beneath the early spring moon. The Plaza Hotel shimmered with gold light, hosting the annual Rebuild Mothers Gala, an event organized by Claire herself. The same ballroom where Tyler once toasted investors now overflowed with journalists, philanthropists, and women who had rebuilt their lives from ashes. Tonight was not about revenge. It was about rebirth. Claire stood backstage, wearing a simple ivory gown that flowed around her like calm water. Her hair was swept into a low bun, her diamond earrings borrowed from a designer who had once cut ties with her. Now, they begged her to wear them. Irony had a sense of humor. Maya approached, holding a glass of water. You nervous? Terrified, Claire admitted, smiling faintly. But it's a better kind of fear. Graham entered then, tuxedo crisp, posture steady. The crowd outside roared as his name was announced. Graham Sterling, tech visionary and humanitarian sponsor of the Rebuild Mothers Foundation. He turned to Claire, eyes soft. They're all here for you, not me. She shook her head. They're here for every woman who refused to stay silent. He smiled. Then go show them what strength looks like. As she stepped onto the stage, the ballroom erupted in applause. Cameras flashed like constellations. Claire paused for a breath, scanning the faces before her. Survivors, supporters, and strangers united by resilience. Last year, she began, her voice clear but trembling. I stood in a courtroom, terrified, broken, and ashamed. I thought surviving was enough. But surviving is only the beginning. Rebuilding, that's where power lives. The audience hung on her every word. My story isn't unique, she continued. Every woman here has been told she's too emotional, too fragile, too dramatic. But tonight, I want to redefine those words. Emotion means we care. Fragile means we endured. Dramatic means we lived to tell the story. The crowd rose in a wave of applause. Claire smiled through tears. Behind her, a large screen lit up with a video montage, women from across the country thanking the foundation for helping them start new lives. Safe homes, therapy, legal aid, tangible proof that pain had turned into purpose. When the applause quieted, Graham took the stage beside her, holding a silver plaque. This award, he said, goes to the woman who reminded us that truth and compassion are stronger than power and money. He turned toward her. Claire Whitman, founder of the Rebuild Mothers Fund. The crowd erupted again. Claire accepted the plaque, her hands shaking. Thank you, she said softly. And thank you to the man who believed I was still worth saving, when I stopped believing it myself. Win. Their eyes met a moment heavy with gratitude, not ownership. Later that night, after the speeches and champagne, Claire stepped out onto the plaza balcony. The city stretched before her, alive and endless. Graham joined her, jacket slung over one shoulder. You did it, he said. We did it, she corrected, but I'm still learning how to live without looking over my shoulder. That's okay, he replied. Healing isn't quiet. It echoes. Sen. She laughed softly, glancing down at her phone. A photo from the babysitter had just come through. Ethan, asleep, clutching the little silver star Graham had given him. She looked back at the glittering city. For a long time, I thought Tyler destroyed my life, she said. Now I see he just redirected it. Graham smiled. Redirection can be destiny. The wind lifted her hair, carrying her laughter over Fifth Avenue. Because the best revenge was never destruction. It was becoming everything they swore you couldn't be. The morning after the gala, sunlight poured through the tall windows of Graham's penthouse overlooking Central Park. The air smelled like strong coffee and fresh tulips. A gift from the foundation team congratulating Claire on the event's success. She stood barefoot by the glass wall, wearing one of Graham's white shirts, her hair loose and glowing in the golden light. For the first time in years, she felt peace that didn't feel borrowed. Ethan was at home with the nanny, safe, healthy, laughing. The city outside didn't look threatening anymore. It looked alive. Graham walked in quietly, 2 mugs in hand. "You didn't sleep," he said softly. She smiled. "I didn't want to. I didn't want to miss this feeling." He handed her the mug. "What feeling?" "That I finally own my life again." They stood there for a while, sipping coffee in silence. Then Graham said, "The gala raised over $3 million last night. You've built something that'll outlive all of us." Claire laughed, a small, surprised sound. "Funny, I used to think success meant being someone's wife. Now it just means waking up without fear." He looked at her, and for the first time in months, the space between them shifted, no longer protector and survivor, but equals. "I've been thinking," Graham began carefully, "about what comes next for both of us." "Poppin' too?" She raised an eyebrow. "That sounds dangerously like a proposal." He chuckled. "Not dangerous, just overdue." He set his mug down and reached into his jacket pocket, not for a ring, but for a small envelope. "Before you say anything, just read this." Inside was a single sheet of paper, a letter written in his precise, clean handwriting. "Claire, you don't owe anyone your heart, not even me. But if there's room beside the life you've rebuilt, I'd like to share it. Not as your savior, not as your second chance, but as your equal. G." Claire's breath caught. "You wrote this instead of buying a ring?" He smiled. "I thought you'd trust words more than gold right now." She laughed softly, tears blurring her vision. "You were right." He stepped closer, hands gentle on her shoulders. "I don't want to replace your past. I just want to be part of your peace." "Sen." She looked up at him, the man who had stood quietly through every storm, who had believed in her when she was too tired to believe in herself. "You already are." He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "So, is that a yes?" She nodded, eyes shining. "It's a yes. But on one condition. Anything. No diamond. Just a promise that you'll never let me forget who I am." Graham smiled, leaning in. "That's the easiest promise I've ever made. Friend." He kissed her, not the hungry, desperate kind she remembered from her past, but a slow, grounding kiss that felt like home. When they pulled apart, she whispered, "I never thought I'd trust again." He touched her cheek. "You didn't need to trust me first. You just needed to trust yourself." Later that evening, as they walked through Central Park with Ethan between them, Claire watched her son chase pigeons near the fountain. The city glowed, alive with second chances. Graham took her hand, fingers interlacing. "What do you want the next chapter to be called?" he asked. She smiled, gazing at the skyline. "Peace, after all." He nodded. "Then let's write it together. Because sometimes love doesn't arrive to save you, it arrives when you've already saved yourself." It was a warm June afternoon, 2 years after the chaos that had nearly broken her. The Rebuild Mothers Foundation had just opened its new headquarters on Fifth Avenue, an airy, sunlit space filled with white orchids, photographs of smiling women, and laughter echoing from every corner. Claire stood near the glass doors, watching volunteers set up for the open house. Her life, once a battlefield, had become a sanctuary. Ethan, now 2, toddled between her legs, clutching his favorite stuffed bear. "Mama, up!" he squealed. She lifted him, breathing in the scent of baby lotion and sunshine. His small hand patted her cheek. "Happy, Mama?" She smiled. "So happy, sweetheart." Across the room, Graham was speaking with a journalist, describing the Foundation's expansion into 6 new states. He looked at her over the crowd, their eyes meeting in that quiet, familiar way. Not possessive, not loud, just certain. When the interviews ended, he walked to her side. "Ready to give your speech?" "Always," she said, though her stomach fluttered with nerves. Minutes later, she stood at the podium, Ethan sitting in Graham's arms nearby. The room hushed as cameras turned toward her. "2 years ago," she began, voice steady, "I was afraid of my own story. I thought pain made me smaller, shame made me weaker, and loss meant the end. But pain can be a teacher. Shame can become truth. And endings," she paused, looking at Graham and Ethan, "can be beginnings wearing different clothes." The crowd erupted in applause. some wiping tears. Claire smiled and continued. This foundation isn't about me. It's about every woman who's been told she's too broken to rebuild. You're not broken. You're in progress. And progress is beautiful. When the applause faded, she caught sight of someone standing quietly at the back of the room, Ruth, her aunt. They hadn't spoken since the trial. Ruth's eyes glistened with tears as she stepped forward. You did it, baby, she whispered. Claire embraced her. No anger left, just forgiveness. We both did. Later that evening, when the crowd dispersed and the city lights shimmered outside the windows, Claire slipped onto the balcony with Graham. The skyline stretched before them, Manhattan glowing like a heartbeat. Do you ever think about him? Graham asked quietly. Sometimes, she admitted. But not with hate, more like looking at an old scar. It doesn't hurt anymore, but it reminds me where I've been. He nodded, slipping his arm around her shoulders. They transferred him last month, didn't they? Yes, upstate, minimum security. He'll be out one day. She took a slow breath. But that won't matter. I stopped living in his shadow a long time ago. Inside, Ethan giggled, chasing his reflection in the glass. The sound filled the quiet like sunlight spilling into dark corners. Claire turned to Graham. When I first met you, I thought my story was over. I didn't realize it was just waiting for the right co-author. He smiled softly. Then let's keep writing. No villains this time. Just peace, coffee, and mornings that don't hurt. She laughed, resting her head against his shoulder. Deal. Down below, taxis weaved through Fifth Avenue, their lights glimmering like gold threads in the night. Claire looked up at the stars and whispered, for every woman still trapped in her storm, hold on. The rain always ends. Graham squeezed her hand. And when it does, he said, you'll see the whole sky. Because survival is the first victory, but forgiveness, peace, and love, that arrives after ruin, that's the final one. So, that's how our story comes to an end. A storm that once tore a woman apart, only to rebuild her stronger than ever. If you're still here, my friend, it means something in Claire's journey touched you in a quiet, personal way. Maybe it reminded you of a time you were broken, or maybe it whispered that healing is still possible. Life isn't about avoiding pain. It's about transforming it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." That's exactly what Claire did. She turned every betrayal, every scar, into a bridge toward peace. Remember, no matter who tried to define you or silence you, you always have the power to rewrite your story. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning to walk again without bitterness. If this story moved you, even just a little, leave a like, share it with someone who needs a reminder of their own strength, and don't forget to subscribe. Because here, we don't just tell stories. We rebuild hearts, one truth at a time. Now tell me, what part of Claire's journey felt closest to your own?